Hello and welcome to a Propertymark election special edition of the Kerfuffle podcast. I'm David Mintz, and in a few moments we'll be catching up with one of Propertymark's vice presidential candidates in their current election. But first of all, a little background to set the scene. On the 29th of June, Propertymark will announce the results of their elections for board members and presidential candidates. Members can vote up until 11 a.m. on the 28th of June, and this year Propertymark confirmed in March that they had a fantastic response to nominations, their biggest ever, especially for seats on the main board. There are encouraging signs that Propertymark has made a conscious effort in recent years to change and to make sure that its regional representatives, its presidential candidates, and to a certain extent, its board is a bit more representative of modern estate agency. Keen to shake off its stuffy boys club image, there have been more ample representation from women of all ages. And although our industry still hasn't fully managed to crack the inclusivity puzzle when it comes to greater and wider representation, it would generally be agreed that we have turned a corner and are consciously trying to make positive changes come about, and that we deserve member bodies that more accurately reflect the diverse nature of the very communities that we serve as estate agents. Whether you are a buyer or a seller, a landlord or a tenant, Propertymark would be keen to assure you that a Propertymark registered agent is some sort of guarantee that as a member, they will adhere to a common code of practice, be educated, qualified, and knowledgeable on areas of legislation. By hiring TV's Phil Spencer to be the face of their public-facing ad campaigns, it's also clear that Propertymark feel that the public need a recognizable and trustworthy celebrity assurance that these agents buck the trend vis-a-vis what the tabloids would have you believe of your average estate agents. Of course, only Propertymark members can vote in this current election cycle, so you may be forgiven for taking the view that if you're not a Propertymark member, these elections don't mean anything to you. But perhaps the real truth is that regardless of whether you see Propertymark as the true representatives of professional estate agency, or possibly even the future gatekeepers to regulation, with approximately 18,000 engaged members, it can be argued that they make a compelling case for representing the entire industry at some basic level. In more recent years, you will have seen Propertymark's presidential team include some real superstars and up-and-coming industry influential figures. This year, the candidate list continues that trend, and we spent some time talking to one of the vice presidential candidates, Megan 18, long-time Propertymark regional representative for Oxfordshire and Berkshire, and operations director for award-winning agents Location. Megan is probably best known for her exceptionally enthusiastic and sunny demeanor, and for being the closest thing to a viral TikTok sensation that our industry has ever known. Her trademark-friendly approach has created a brand of accessible and very practical property assistance that is approachable and easy to understand for members of the public. Not only has this been a fantastic free resource for the public when it comes to getting answers to their property questions, but it has also done wonders to improve the way that estate agents are seen and regarded by the wider public. With content like this, it could well be argued that Propertymark are best off being publicly represented by its own homegrown personalities, and that Phil Spencer's days as a poster boy might soon be numbered. We spoke to Megan to get her views on her campaign and these elections. Is Megan 18. Megan, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Megan, this is your big presidential push. The voting is due to take place, I think, no later than the 28th of this month. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it closes the morning of the 28th. So let's not leave it too late, everybody.
Okay. So vote early and vote often. How many roles are there available at the moment in terms of what people can vote for?
So you have the vice president for NEA and for ALA, and you've got 2 board positions representing NEA and ALA as well. So there's 4 positions currently being elected. So 2 board positions and 2 vice president positions.
So it goes without saying that this is going to be super important to anybody that is an NAA member. Do you think that there is any interest in these elections to the wider industry? Does it mean anything to people outside of Propertymark?
And we've talked about it quite a few times that whether you're a member or not, we do represent your voice. So I think it does take an interest to everybody, because ultimately it's going to be the face for that, for that role for the next 3 years.
And in terms of then within Propertymark, obviously it's much more important because they have an actual vote. They can sort of influence the outcome. The number of different candidates, all of them sort of really worthy and professionals, and you'd be happy to have them in any position. And you're joining also sort of a presidential team with other stars that have previously gone before. But in real terms, is this sort of, do you see this presidential role at Propertymark more ceremonial? Do you turn up to cut the ribbon at the opening of the local library and sort of say hello, thank you for having me? Or is there more sort of active work that goes in behind this? Is it that you want to go out there and meet the people? Do you see it as being more important than that?
I think that's really important. I don't think you should devalue meeting the members. I think that's a really, really important part of the presidential kind of process, I guess. For me, having an approachable president is really vital, because it helps us, certainly at Propertymark, to make sure that what we're working on, maybe for membership or with Parliament or in working groups, is exactly what is being fed back by the members.
Okay.
I think for me, one of the biggest issues that we're facing in the industry currently is that we're losing staff, and the retention of staff and attracting kind of that next generation is almost non-existent. Gone were the days that you and I worked in where you wore burnout like a badge of honor. It's changed, and I think that we don't speak that language, and we don't have that same pull, and we need to kind of get people on a career track, I think, a bit earlier now.
But it's more than just sort of tokenism, obviously, in terms of making sure you've got the right mix of diversity and so on, but it's also speaking that language that next generation speaks, and sort of speaking to their values as well in terms of what they're looking for. And do you feel that there is still that desire, you're getting that buy-in from people of that next generation to professional organizations such as Propertymark? Because there was a worry, wasn't there, at one point, that it's a stuffy old institution. Why would anybody young and hip want to sign up to it? Obviously, you've bucked the trend there, but generally speaking, looking at the presidential team, actually, there's a really good mix of young people that are balancing a lot of different things, but careers, home life, and you're showing that everybody can do it. But is it attracting that next generation of leader and people that want to be active in the organization?
I think yes and no, but there's not enough. So you do get your say the word youngsters makes me sound really old, and I'm not even that old. But it's okay to put it in perspective. When I started my career, with Propertymark, I was 23. Now that's about 20 years younger than the average member currently. Now that's not a bad thing, because actually we want educated managers and senior managers and business owners. But the people that are going out and meeting people day to day on viewings and valuations, they're the ones currently that are unregulated, and they're the ones that don't have necessarily that same training opportunities. And I think that's a real shame. But I don't know about you, David, like I got to a point in my career where I was like, I've invested so much into my career that I can't do anything else. I have to work within property. I know you sort of went off and did, like, you're in the prop tech world now, but in your heart, you're still an estate agent, right?
You make out like I've taken a job at a petrol station.
Outrageous, you left us.
But that's important, and I think there is always that difficulty, isn't it? Because sometimes we as an industry, we try to talk to, certainly on the supplier side, we try to talk to decision makers, because they're the people that hold the purse strings of these companies. And sometimes there is that friction of you've got staff, team members, I should say, is probably more in line with how people view them these days. But you've got members of your working family that want qualifications, who want training, who want maybe to be part of something that's slightly bigger. They want that professional support. It might not be particularly important to the principles of the business, but they can approach those companies and sort of say, look,
to me, it's really important in my professional career to progress. I'd like to go and get my level 3, my level 4, whatever it may be. But I also want to be a part of Propertymark. There is a sense that this isn't frivolous. You can actually, this is part of your personal development at work. And so I'm presuming, therefore, that you're nodding away there, but you would be encouraging younger people, even if their businesses are not Propertymark registered businesses, to approach their bosses and sort of say, look, I want to be a part of this. Can you support me through that journey?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you have to look at it in 2 ways, right? So we had this debate actually at our last execs day, that obviously with the cost of living crisis, that people obviously are wanting more from their job. And I know, we all know how tough it's been financially, but actually when you get down to the root cause of it, actually a lot of people, it isn't actually always just about money, about that kind of job satisfaction. And sometimes it's about progression. Now, we've all been geared up that you're always looking at that next job title. And I know from my own experience that I got obsessed with the fact that I could not get the next job title at one of my previous employers because it didn't exist. And I think that actually you can retain people by putting them on a professional training track, rather than having to necessarily go, right, you're now a senior advanced branch manager. You can actually get that same satisfaction and same outcome of, making somebody feel valued and that you're supporting their career in a different way. But you should also give people pay rises where you can. Let's just chuck that in there. Okay. Little inflation.
Okay. It's certainly not going to hurt. So is there anything that you feel like the voting public need to hear from you before they go to the polls?
I think for me, it's just making sure you're actually going to do it. I know that sounds really silly, but what I've realized is even my own friends, I've had to go, this is the voting website, this is how you do it. Because people think, and certainly from my own campaign, I've had so many people be like, oh, yeah, no worries, I'll do it. Like, you can't rest on that. You've got to actually make the effort and go do it. It takes 2 minutes. You need a membership number and you can follow the link, and you can find your membership number by logging on to the Propertymark page. And it's super simple, takes a minute.
Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you.